What if science, philosophy, and spirituality were all pointing to the same fundamental truth? What if reality, reincarnation, and consciousness had a hidden structure, one that we could logically uncover without relying on faith or dogma? Throughout history, science and spirituality have often been seen as opposing forces, one grounded in empirical evidence, the other in mysticism. But in recent years, something fascinating has emerged. Science and philosophy are converging on ancient metaphysical ideas. Many people reject concepts like reincarnation, karma, and the higher self because they seem too mystical or esoteric. But what if deep intellectual inquiry, without mysticism, leads us to the same truths? This is what we tested, and what we found was astonishing. One of the most revolutionary ideas in modern philosophy is analytic idealism, pioneered by Dr. Bernardo Kastrup. Unlike materialism, which assumes that consciousness is a byproduct of the brain, analytic idealism states that consciousness is the fundamental fabric of reality. Think of reality as a vast ocean. Your individual consciousness is like a wave, seemingly separate, yet still part of the greater whole. This idea aligns surprisingly well with ancient spiritual teachings. In the 1980s, a series of channeled teachings known as the Law of One claimed to reveal the structure of consciousness and the universe. While many dismiss channeled material as pseudoscience, what makes the Law of One unique is its remarkable consistency with modern philosophy and quantum mechanics. The Law of One describes a reality where all things are part of a single universal consciousness. It suggests that reincarnation is not random, but part of an evolutionary learning process. It also introduces the concept of the higher self, a future version of you that exists outside of time, guiding your incarnational path. What if the higher self described in the Law of One is the same guiding intelligence suggested by quantum consciousness models? What if reincarnation is not just a spiritual belief, but a necessary process in the evolution of self-awareness? Both analytic idealism and the Law of One describe consciousness as fundamental, reincarnation as purposeful, and self-awareness as evolving toward greater unity. For centuries, materialism has dominated science. It assumes that thoughts, emotions, and experiences are merely the results of brain chemistry. But what if this view is incomplete? Bernardo Kastrup's analytic idealism suggests that the universe itself is a vast universal mind, and that we, as individuals, are fragments of that mind. Quantum mechanics supports this idea. The famous observer effect in physics suggests that matter behaves differently when observed, implying that consciousness plays a role in shaping reality. Federico Faggin's quantum consciousness model goes even further, suggesting that consciousness is non-local and fundamental. This means it is not produced by the brain, but exists beyond space and time. The idea that reality is mental, rather than purely physical, is gaining traction in both science and philosophy. If consciousness is fundamental and does not arise from the brain, does it end when we die? Analytic idealism originally suggested that individual selves dissolve into the universal mind after death. However, there is a contradiction. If individuality vanishes, how do past life memories exist? Why do people recall previous incarnations with verifiable accuracy? Researchers like Ian Stevenson and Jim Tucker have documented hundreds of cases where children remember specific details from past lives, details that were later verified. This suggests that consciousness does not disappear after death. Instead, it may persist in a non-local field, where reincarnation is not a transfer of a soul, but a continuation of evolving consciousness patterns. Instead of being random, reincarnation may serve an evolutionary function, helping consciousness refine itself over multiple lifetimes. Could reincarnation be guided by a higher intelligence? The Law of One suggests that each of us has a higher self, a future version of ourselves that exists outside time, overseeing our incarnational path. Scientific theories like Faggin's quantum consciousness model suggest that information persists beyond death and may influence future incarnations. This means that reincarnation is not random. It is part of a structured learning process where each lifetime builds on the previous one. If reincarnation is part of an evolutionary process, What happens when we no longer need to reincarnate? Some philosophies suggest that consciousness transitions into higher modes of existence. The Law of One describes this as moving through densities of awareness, ultimately leading to full unity with the Source. Consciousness does not end. It expands infinitely, cycling through ever greater states of awareness. If reincarnation is chosen, karma is self-balancing, and you are evolving toward infinite awareness, how would you act differently today? Like and subscribe for more deep dive explorations into the nature of reality.